Fun show today and a live stream this afternoon. The best way to know about our content is to subscribe to our channel. We have live streams 3 times during the week, Tuesday night, Thursday at 2 p.m., Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's go. Oh, it is the end of an era. The Urban Meyer era is over.
Whoa.
What?
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet?
No, we still got the remnants.
Okay, all right.
Would it be better to describe it the Urban Meyer error?
Yeah, or Urban fired. I want to make an urban legend joke, but I don't know how. There's a lot that we can work with here.
Oh, it was legendary.
It was legendary mistake. So that's cool. And James Robinson was your start of the week even before this news, right?
He was. I did tweet from hearing some things that this was going to happen this week. I thought it would have happened on Monday or Tuesday. But I did tweet, I think it was Monday night or whenever, I think it was Monday night, that if Urban's fired, I'll make James Robinson start of the week. And then I originally was going with a different start of the week. I was going to go with Jalen Hurts because I thought I'd like to set up for him. But the fact that he was splitting reps in practice on Wednesday made me a little concerned. And so I was like, I'll just go with James Robinson. The Carlos Hyde injury kind of swayed it for me. The fact that he's in the concussion protocol and they brought in Kerryon Johnson. So I was like, Urban can't screw this up. It's Houston. There's nobody else to toy with. Even if Robinson fumbles, he can't pull him out of the lineup. And so, yes, James Robinson was the start of the week.
Outstanding. He still is. All right, give me 3 or 4 running backs you'd start him over.
Oh, he's going to be in my top 12. I haven't adjusted my rankings yet, but he's the number 1 running back. So the Denver guys, unless one of them is out, obviously.
Packers?
The Packers guys, Antonio Gibson, Saquon Barkley, Zeke. Let's go. This is what we've been waiting for, is nobody to screw around with one of our favorite guys.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to say about this, Heath? What's your take?
I think the other side of the equation, I'm not going to give any take on Urban Meyer or anything like that. I do not want to get in trouble. But the other side of it is, what about the Jacksonville defense? And what about the Houston offense? Because I think we talked about earlier in the week, Jamie, has Jacksonville quit on Urban Meyer? Are they now rejuvenated?
Oh, yeah.
And do they just destroy the Texans in this game?
Yeah, it's a great call. I do think, though, offensively, you had the whole Marvin Jones narrative about, what the report was, that he left the facility, and came back and, they got into a heated discussion.
Actually, he has the connection with Bevel too from the past,
right? Pat from Ohio. When I was tweeting about James Robinson last night, he was replying to that. So good call, Pat, about Marvin Jones. You wonder if maybe Laviska Shenault, just because of the injuries. Obviously, Treadwell's been playing well. So I think they're all in play. I don't think they're must-start guys. Jones would be my favorite. You got to hope maybe Trevor Lawrence plays a little bit more free. Look, Urban wasn't the reason why a lot of these guys were struggling on the field. The Robinson situation is more so of, was he playing the guy that he liked in Carlos Hyde? Was that the conversation with Bernie Parmalee, who he put it on, the running backs coach there? I think it's more Robinson as a playing time situation than the performance, because Trevor Lawrence obviously is still struggling, and I don't think Urban leaving is going to change that. But it just all coincides with the matchup being as good as it could possibly get. And
it is now a 4-point spread. Jaguars were 3-point favorites. Now they are 4-point favorites. But I don't know that they're good enough to really... They're 0-1 against Houston, so I'm surprised. I'm surprised they're favored to begin with. But I don't know why we're talking about this game.
I think they're at home.
Yeah.
We've removed Urban Meyer.
Yes.
And I think, regardless of what happened last week and what happened against the Patriots, I think Vegas probably still thinks that Tyrod Taylor is better than Davis Mills for Houston's chances of winning.
All right. Well, what we shall see.
Houston was like, oh, we're going to go team dysfunction.
Yeah.
This is a big win. They probably got their jackets out again. Remember when they wore them to the Foxborough? Everything's all hunky-dory from Houston. They may still win. And, God bless them if they do. But this is probably the most excited the Jaguars have been in a long time.
Probably, yeah. All right, DeAndre Hopkins is...
I saw somebody tweet yesterday. Can you imagine the Jaguars team group chat right now?
Oh, my gosh. Shad Khan is like he's leading the... He started the group text. DeAndre Hopkins expected to miss the rest of the regular season. He's got a knee injury. They're at Detroit this week. Schrager, let's show the results. We want to ask people who's going to be the best wide receiver on Arizona now that DeAndre Hopkins is out. Schrager will pull it up, but very, very close between Christian Kirk and AJ Green. Here we go. Take a look at this. 44% said Kirk, 45% Green, and 9%. This is on Facebook, by the way. 9% said Rondale Moore. Heath, who do you vote for, Green or Kirk?
I am still trying to adjust my eyes to this poll. This is an interesting feature. I like it's interesting. I slightly go Kirk over Green, but I agree that it's this close, and I agree it's one of those two and not Rondale Moore.
Okay, Jamie, who do you like?
I agree with Heath. I think they're both kind of similar. 1 week will be one guy, 1 week will be another guy. It's like a poor man's Dallas, of how these guys will operate. I think, Kyler will run more, just out of necessity, because these guys don't clearly separate as well as DeAndre Hopkins does, or have as much, faith in throwing to them as he did. But it's, they're both in great spots. Should be added across the board.
Well, what about Kyler? Is this a downgrade for him? A significant one?
It's a downgrade, but not significant. I mean,
No.
Hopkins certainly has not been carrying him from a yardage standpoint. He's been very good from a touchdown standpoint. He's got, I think, more touchdowns than everybody else combined, if I'm not mistaken. I think he has 8, and everybody else combined is less than that. Kirk, Green, and Moore receiving touchdowns. So somebody's going to have to step up. But, the fact that we've seen him run the last couple of games is encouraging. And I think he's, he may go from a top 5 guy to a top 8 guy, but I'm not streaming quarterbacks to replace Kyler Murray, and I have him about 5 playoffs myself.
I think it'll be really interesting to see over this last month of the season what happens to Kyler's touchdown rate, because that was his main thing holding him back as a passer the first couple of years of his career. It was a little bit better in his second year at 4.7%. It jumped to almost 6% this year. And a lot of that's been Hopkins. And so if he struggles in the red zone as a passer again, maybe they just don't pass in the red zone because they have James Conner, who just scores all the touchdowns.
And he, by the way, is questionable this week with the ankle injury. At Detroit this week, then the Colts next week, then at Dallas in your fantasy championship week 17, which of course you will all make. Okay, the COVID news. Washington has 18 players on the COVID list. A lot of it is key defensive linemen right now. So as Jamie was mentioning, it is a very good setup for Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is dealing with a high ankle sprain and splitting reps with Gardner Minshew. So we'll have to see what the practice report is today, and we'll take a look at that game on tomorrow's show. But Washington has so many.
Whoa. You're not going to give Heath a chance to talk about Gardner?
No offense to Gardner Minshew, but I'm hoping it's Jalen Hurts this week.
Well, I think even if it's Jalen Hurts, assuming Miles Sanders is back, and I think he said yesterday that he expects to play.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, if you've got a quarterback with a high ankle sprain, maybe you just don't run him that much, and you don't do anything with him that much. And Miles Sanders and Boston Scott run the ball 30 times. They're not going to need to do anything else against Washington this week.
Perhaps.
If Washington's offense doesn't show up.
All right, so Washington's got it, got a lot of COVID cases. So does Cleveland, and they've got more high-profile offensive players on the list, including, of course, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, 2 starting offensive linemen. And defensively, you got John Johnson and Troy Hill in the secondary. You have defensive tackle Malik McDowell. So as we look at this game, Jamie, Cleveland at Las Vegas.
Las Vegas at Cleveland.
Oh, sorry. Las Vegas at Cleveland. This game's on Saturday, so they have even less, right? I can screw that up. This game on Saturday, they have even less time to come off the COVID list. What do you think of the Browns in general?
I think get ready for a 30-carry game for Nick Chubb, which makes a lot of sense. We saw the run-heavy approach the last time Baker was out. It was the Dearness Johnson game. So they'll lean on Chubb quite a bit, and it makes a ton of sense because the Raiders' run defense has been suspect. So Dearness Johnson, I think, is a flex play. If you want to take a gamble on, a player this week, Donovan Peoples-Jones is not bad because he's going to get as many targets as he can handle. And then you want to keep an eye on, does David Njoku clear the protocols, or does Harrison Bryant play? Bryant practiced on a limited basis yesterday. So those 2 guys, because it doesn't seem like Hooper's going to clear the protocols in time, like you said, Adam. So if you're in need of a tight end, the Raiders are bad against tight ends. So you can look at one of those guys as a flyer just in case, they get an opportunity to start.
This is another one of those games where the line has just had a massive shift. I believe it opened up as Cleveland -5 with an over-under of 44. The over-under is down to 38.5, which is one of the lowest of the season. And the Raiders are now favored by 1.5.
Wow. Austin Eckler expected
it's supposed to be windy
tonight.
too, which is not good, obviously, for Carr.
Oh, no. Austin Eckler expected to play. We'll keep an eye on that. Left tackle Rashawn Slater out for the Chargers. And cornerback Asante Samuel is going to be a game-time decision. Meanwhile, Chris Jones, defensive lineman for the Chiefs, he is unlikely to play tonight.
Not just that, they've ruled out L'Jarius Sneed and Willie Gay. This defense is in shambles without those three players.
Well, all season long, we are playing the Fantasy Football Today Start Sit Challenge. You can go to cbssports.com/start-sit to play. Each week, answer 10 starter sit questions to win a customized Trophy Smack championship belt with your name engraved. And the overall winner for the season wins $1,000 and a guest appearance on the podcast, which is valued at $1,000 as well. One question this week is quarterback Taysom Hill, Joe Burrow, or Kirk Cousins? Taysom Hill against the Bucs, Burrow gets Denver, Cousins against the Bears. Who do you guys like?
Cousins slightly over Taysom.
Yep. And Burrow quite a ways behind both.
So I have a question. If the appearance on the podcast is valued at $1,000 and the winner does not want to accept the appearance, are you giving them $1,000?
Well, I'm giving whoever's on the show that day $1,000.
Well, you just said it's also valued at $1,000. You made it seem like it's a $2,000 price.
It is. You get $1,000 and you also get an extra $1,000 for coming on the show.
You don't get paid the extra $1,000 for coming on the show. Being on the show is worth $1,000. You be very careful how you phrase that.
Right, you got to be careful how you say that.
No, I'm paying them.
You are okay.
Yeah, 1,000. No, I'm definitely not.
What is going on?
I'm just joking. I mean, I'm honestly joking. It's not worth $1,000.
Well, I mean, somebody legally might say you said it's worth $1,000. I don't want to come on the show, so give me my $1,000. I want $2,000.
I'm not paying anybody anything. So that put that in writing. Players that we love this week. Jamie's got James Robinson as his start of the week. Heath, how about you? Who do you love?
I'm really starting to love Josh Jacobs, to be honest. That game script has kind of flipped on its head, and Jacobs is doing so much in the passing game. I actually have him, I think, in full PPR ranked ahead of Nick Chubb now. So he's a top 5 running back for me in all formats.
Okay, this is interesting. This was going to be one of our rankings disputes. I don't know if, Jamie, you've adjusted your rankings. You had him somewhere around 15, and Dave and Heath had
No, he'll be up.
7.
He'll be up.
Okay, so we don't have to dispute that. James Robinson or Josh Jacobs, Jamie?
I'll go Robinson, but it's close.
Okay, how about we go to some sits? Jamie, who are we avoiding this week?
I would like to avoid DK Metcalf. He's just clearly been struggling from a connection with Russell Wilson, production standpoint, obviously. And his track record against the Rams is spotty. Ramsey expected to return, not that he's going to shadow him, but he's going to see some time on him. And so I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is the week that Metcalf breaks out because most people are still starting him. But it's not a slam dunk. Like, I like Van Jefferson better than DK Metcalf this week. I like Darnell Mooney better than Metcalf this week.
Mike Williams?
Parker.
Mike Williams?
No, I'd start Metcalf. I don't love Mike Williams tonight.
Okay, so see if you can avoid DK Metcalf. How about Metcalf or Rashad Penny?
Metcalf and PPR.
Heath, you got to sit?
Yeah, and I'm uncomfortable with saying it, but it's how I feel right now. So I'm pretty worried about A.J. Dillon. This Ravens defense has just been so one-sided in that they're awesome against the run and terrible against the pass. And I think the Packers are a pretty smart team, so I think they'll probably take advantage of that. I was concerned that Dillon, I think, only ran 7 routes last week, did not see a target. It was all Aaron Jones in the passing game. I don't think you necessarily want the guy who's just going to run into the Ravens line 15 to 17 times. So I would like to get away from Dillon if I could. I would definitely start Clyde over him tonight. If Barkley's healthy, I'd start Barkley over him. I'd start the other running back in that game, Devontae Freeman, over him. So, yeah, I'm pretty worried about Dillon.
Okay. Well, you can start Josh Jacobs. You can consider sitting DK Metcalf and A.J. Dillon, and you can definitely start using Grammarly. All right? You got a lot on your plate right now. Holiday time is stressful. A lot of shopping. A lot of crazy stuff going on. So save some time with all of your writing and all of your communicating with Grammarly Premium. Grammarly helps you communicate clearly and kindly, even when you're in a hurry. So yeah, proofreading something can take a long time. And whether you're writing something, like Jamie and Heath write, or something for work, if you're in school, whatever it might be, you want to get the point across quickly. You want to do it clearly and effectively. You want to use the best vocabulary and avoid those grammatical errors that make you look a little bit silly. I've used Grammarly Premium, and it's really, really easy to use and very, very helpful. And sometimes you don't even realize how much better your writing can be until you type something in Grammarly and they give you those tips. So if you want to take the stress out of getting the words right, do it with Grammarly. And our listeners get 20% off Grammarly Premium at Grammarly.com/FFT. That is 20% off at Grammarly.com/FFT. So maybe you're giving end of the year feedback, or maybe you need to sound a little bit more formal, or if you want to sound more friendly, anything that you need to convey in your writing, Grammarly can help you. And again, it is Grammarly.com/FFT for 20% off Grammarly Premium, Grammarly.com/FFT. A lot of news and notes. James Conner missed practice. Yeah, it's not a huge surprise. They played on Monday. Yesterday was Wednesday. Jalen Hurts, high ankle sprain. We talked about that. DK Metcalf, in addition to the foot injury that he's been on the injury report every week recently for, he's got this back injury now. I'm sure he's going to play, but I would think he's going to play, but he's beat up. Javonte Williams was limited with a knee injury. Oh, hey, Ezekiel Elliott says this is the best he's felt in a while, guys. Fool you.
Why? Williams.
Every week. Well, no, Look, I probably like Zeke more than most people this week, but every week we get a new report about how healthy, how great Zeke is, and all the work he's going to get. And then every week it's up
I'm going to test your love. Would you flex Zeke or DK?
Oh, why? I would flex Zeke.
You're also testing his Giants love too.
Yeah.
Giants love. I don't have any of that anymore.
A lot going on there, Heath.
Tony Pollard missed practice. They're hoping he can come back this week. Leonard Fournette missed practice with an ankle issue. Could just be a veteran rest day. But hey, if you have an empty roster spot, why not take a look at Ronald Jones?
You have to wonder if, I don't know if this is the week that they're going to do it, but do they start to rest some of their key guys?
Who?
The Bucs.
What?
In a game. Hear me out.
Oh, all right, go ahead. And then I'll
in a situation where the guy's not 100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look, the fight for the 1 seed is so hot.
Huge,
so hot right now.
Right, but they showed you last year that it didn't matter.
Well, yes, they did, but yeah.
I'm not suggesting that they're going to sit guys that are healthy by any stretch, but if he's not 100%, they want him in January more so than they do in December.
Darren Waller missed practice. Kareem Hunt missed practice.
Saquon did too, right?
Yep.
Yes. I didn't think that was anything new, but
it's gone from limited to DNP. So
okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard were both limited, right? Does that sound right? Okay. Yes. Adrian Peterson has a chance to play. What do you make of that? Do you think he could mess up Rashad Penny?
I don't know if it's tied to Alex Collins, who was back on the injury report yesterday with abdomen problems. So
I do worry that he could steal a touchdown.
Yeah, that would be annoying. Eli Mitchell missed practice. DJ Moore expected to play at Buffalo. Terry McLaurin missed practice, still in the concussion protocol. So is J.D. McKissick, and they have the Eagles this week. All right. I don't know that we have rankings disputes so much. We can try to do them during the game, which was an idea I had.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Really good idea.
Heath's idea. Here's a fun question. Hey, Adam, what was the worst white elephant gift you've gotten? I've actually only gotten really good white elephant gifts. White elephant is really fun. It is when everybody, in a group buys a gift. We did like $20 or less or $25 or less. You wrap them all up, you display them on a shelf, and then everybody gets around and you pick which one you want and you open it, and that's your gift. But then the person who goes next or anyone later has the right to steal a previously opened gift.
He didn't ask you to explain the white elephant gift
I know,
process to him. I have a good white elephant story.
I mean, this is a holiday tip. White elephant is really fun. Look up the rules. It's a really, really fun holiday thing.
10 plus years ago, I went to a white elephant party with a large group of people, and my parents were also there. And my dad brought as his white elephant gift a box set of Clint Eastwood movies that I had given him the prior year that was still unopened.
That is so awesome.
Yes. Yeah. He was giving away the gift that I'd given him the year before. Had never even opened it.
That is really funny, man. I tried to give away the Die Hard Christmas book as a white elephant gift, but nobody opened it. I was the last one to go, and I ended up with my own gift that I brought. All right, one question for each game. Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Can Ben Roethlisberger give us another good performance? I believe it is 20 or more points in 6-point leagues in 4 of his last 5 games.
Yes, he'll be right around 20. Not a huge ceiling, but I think he can get to that threshold once again.
Heath?
Yeah, another fine game. I'd hesitate to say good. We don't have anybody on a bye. I don't expect 20 or 21 fantasy points to maybe even be not a top 12, maybe not even a top 15 quarterback this week.
Oh, I don't know, man. We got some banged up guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, Cincinnati's at Denver. Is it Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams week, or both, or neither? Thoughts on the Broncos running backs?
It would be nice if one of them sat, right?
Yeah. It's probably not going to happen as of right now. So
No.
let's both play.
I would start both.
Low end number 2s. Williams over Gordon, but just barely.
Neither of them has more than 11 carries in any game they've lost.
They're 2.5 points favorites.
Okay. Green Bay at Baltimore. Who's the best running back in this game?
Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Devontae Freeman in that order for me.
I'd go Devontae Freeman, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon in that order.
Jets-Dolphins. Who's the best running back in this game?
Duke Johnson.
Currently, I would say, it's Myles Gaskin if he plays. And if he doesn't, then it's Michael Carter if he plays. And if he does, then maybe it's Duke Johnson. Or maybe it's Malcolm Brown. Or it could be Ty Johnson. Maybe it's Austin Walter. They wanted to start him last week before he got sick. And if not, it could be Michael P. Ryan. Don't sleep on Jared Dokes.
It's not going to be it's going to be Michael Carter for the Jets. They've already said he's playing. So let's say Gaskin's back, Carter's back, and Malcolm Brown is practicing. So I'll give you 2 scenarios. Gaskin's back, but no Malcolm Brown, and Carter's back. Who's better, Gaskin or Brown? Or Gaskin or Carter?
Gaskin.
Gaskin and Malcolm Brown are back, and I only bring that up because Gaskin had very little role in the running game when Brown was healthy, and really no goal line role, or Carter in that scenario.
Gaskin.
I was just thinking about something. Maybe I'm wrong, but they were so confident that Carter's going to come back this week. And it was kind of weird they put Elijah Moore on IR with an injured quad. Have they just put these rookies on the IR to give them 3 weeks to deal with injuries, and they're both going to come back 100% because they're not really playing for anything anyway?
I don't know in regards to Moore, because by the time he comes back,
right,
there's definitely nothing to play for. Not that there was anything to play for when they put Carter on IR, but I'm going to guess there were probably legit enough injuries that they didn't want to risk them hurting themselves further.
They're a decisive team, it seems, with their IR moves. A lot of teams don't just, don't.
Well, they didn't put Zach Wilson on IR, right?
No, I don't think they did. But Carter pretty quickly. Corey Davis, they were like, see ya after the year. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about here. All right, Patriots-Colts. Always a good thing to say. Starter sit Michael Pittman.
You start him if you start 3 wide receivers.
I agree with that. I would set him in 2 receiver leagues, though.
Raiders-Browns. Any sleepers in this game?
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
That's a good one.
Njoku would qualify.
And Harrison Bryant, whoever starts there.
We haven't really. What if it's Keenum? And it's probably going to be Keenum.
Yeah.
They're still sleepers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's as much as I'm sure they would love to run the ball like the Patriots did against the Bills. that's probably not feasible. So they'll throw to somebody.
All right, Carolina and Buffalo. Start or sit DJ Moore?
Low end starter in 2 receiver leagues.
Yeah, I would rather start him than Michael Pittman.
Agreed.
Okay, and then Houston and Jacksonville. David Johnson, anyone?
No. Not now.
No.
Because they fired Urban Meyer?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they have a decent run defense to begin with, so to be fair.
And it could be Royce Freeman. I like Johnson better than Freeman, but we'll see.
Brandin Cooks, this is the last game we're going to do, so just to make sure we get to Brandin Cooks. The rankings as of yesterday were very wild on Brandin Cooks. Jamie, are you going to move him up? Because no, Heath, are you going to move him up? Jamie and Dave have him top 20. Cooks outside your top 30, Heath.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I've got him 31, I think. I just don't feel very confident in the Texans offense. I think he's a boom bust number 3 wide receiver who could be a top 15 guy this week and could give you 3 for 45.
This very much surprised me. I thought he'd be in your top 20. Let's debate it. Jamie, make the case for Brandin Cooks.
Well, he was good against them in week 1 when Tyrod was healthy. And I think you saw last week Davis Mills got back to getting him, targets that we look for with 11 targets. I'm going to guess they're probably chasing points here. I don't buy into Shaquille Griffin as necessarily a shutdown guy that you have to fear Brandin Cooks. And so Davis Mills, Dave said this last week, and he was right that Davis Mills is clearly right now better for Brandin Cooks than Tyrod Taylor is. And so I think you're looking at anything north of 8 targets, and typically for him that's been good more times than not.
Okay, Heath, I'm going to see if I can convince you, okay?
Okay.
Move him up. He's had 7 games with Davis Mills starting.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 7 games, he has 4 games with 83 or more yards and 3 games with 47 or fewer yards. The 3 bad games were against Buffalo, New England, and Arizona. We know Arizona, other than last week against Cup, great against number 1 wide receiver. So I look at it as he's been very good with Davis Mills unless he's had a brutal matchup. And obviously, I don't think we feel that way about Jacksonville.
The Patriots game was the weird one.
Yes, the Patriots game, everyone but him did well, basically. But Heath, are you ready to move him up? Did I win?
I the one thing I realized when you were saying that was that I hadn't really separated Brandin Cooks with Tyrod Taylor from Brandin Cooks with Davis Mills. And I think maybe I'm a little bit low on Cook's target share with Davis Mills. I still don't really like his chances of scoring a touchdown. I think he scored 1 with Davis Mills. But I'm probably a little bit low on his targets. And so I will boost that up and try to get him inside the top 30. But I struggle with it because I don't think I'm going to rank him ahead of Christian Kirk. I don't think I'm going to move him ahead of DK Metcalf. That's kind of maybe I should put him. I'd probably be more moving Pittman down behind him.
Okay.
But why is still Metcalf in a tougher situation than Cooks, even though Cooks has been better recently?
I just have a hard time sitting DK Metcalf.
He's such a loyalist.
But you don't have to sit him. Ranking somebody over somebody else is not everybody's decision.
Well, if I rank him 30th at wide receiver, it's pretty close to a sit for a lot of people, considering some of the guys I got in front of him. But yeah, I could see maybe getting Cooks into the 25 range. I don't think he'll get in my top 20.
Okay, let's start with Tennessee and Pittsburgh. And we have no buys this week, more games than ever. So show might be a little bit, hopefully a faster pace than normal. So
if you would have started on time, it would have been better.
All right. I got for not I was going to say something else that started with S, for not starting on time, but it wasn't me. It was someone else.
I was a little delayed. My 3-year-old is obsessed with Space Jam, both versions of it. And he asked me which team would win, Michael Jordan's Space Jam team or LeBron James's Space Jam team. So the 3-year-old is already in the age-old debate of who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
Nice. I am dying to know who's on the LeBron team and have this discussion, but we have work to do. Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Quite frankly, guys, I find this to be a very difficult game to project. It feels low scoring to me, and that's bad for Roethlisberger and Claypool. What does it feel like to you, Heath?
Well, it definitely feels low scoring. I mentioned the Browns and Raiders over under of 38.5. I think this is the second lowest at 41.5. And so many, like, the thing is, you're starting Najee, you're starting Deontay. Claypool's a boom bust number 3 wide receiver. It really, like, the guys that are impacted by it are Roethlisberger and the name that I've tried not to mention all week because I just hate talking about Pat Freiermuth. But like, does he score a touchdown? And the lower the Steelers' projected point total is, the least likely that seems.
Yeah, Tennessee's been very good against tight ends. Stat of the game, though, on Freiermuth. In the last 7 games since their bye week, Pat Freiermuth has the most red zone targets in the NFL. He has 14. He's tied for the most. He also has the most targets in goal-to-go situations, tied for the most with 7 in the last 7 games. So that's an explanation for all the touchdowns. And if you look at red zone targets, Freiermuth and Johnson have a ton of them since the bye. Chase Claypool has 5. And goal-to-go, Freiermuth has 7. Johnson has 5. Claypool has 3. Not terrible.
And it's so weird because, I mean, we all remember last year, really the main reason that Chase Claypool was a fantasy thing was because he scored 11 touchdowns on 90 targets.
Yeah.
And now he just doesn't score touchdowns anymore.
Well, I do think he's tough because his targets, he has, I think, double the amount of targets and losses than wins. But really, we should just consider, when they're chasing points, which they've been doing a lot lately. But Tennessee's offense has been so bad for 3 straight weeks. So, Jamie, talk to me about Claypool. How about this? Rank these flexes. If Najee, Deontay are must starts, rank these flexes. Julio Jones, Chase Claypool, and I said Deontay. I meant Deontay Johnson. Deontay Foreman is who I'm going to ask you to rank. Foreman, Julio Jones, Claypool. How would you rank them?
Foreman, Claypool, and then by a wide margin, those 2 guys over Julio Jones.
Heath, do you agree?
No. I do have Foreman first. I have Julio slightly above Claypool, and I mentioned it earlier in the week. He played 45% of the snaps in his first game back. They said he got through the game without any injuries. They plan on increasing his reps this week. He saw 6 targets in a game where he had 45% of the snaps. I think he's probably going to see 7 or 8 targets. I feel slightly more comfortable with him than Claypool.
You like Claypool, Jamie?
No, but Julio has done absolutely nothing at all to make anybody feel confident in him, trusting him. Still no touchdowns on the season. He has 1 game over 8 PPR points on the year. And I believe, TJ Watt is definitely playing at this point, and I think Joe Hayden is playing also. So, this Steelers defense should be able to contain the passing game from the Titans. So, Julio may play well, but the larger sample size is he's just not very good.
Don't think, Hayden actually missed practice yesterday. Just keep that in mind. He's missed 4 games in a row, Joe Hayden, with a foot injury. So he did not practice Wednesday. We'll see if he can make it out on the field Thursday. All right, let's talk about Deontay Foreman then. Is he ahead of committees like Green Bay, Denver?
No, I started him over AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I struggle with him and Jones, but I would definitely start him over A.J. Dillon. I'd start both the Broncos over Deontay Foreman, though. I would start Foreman over Penny.
Why would we start the Broncos over Deontay Foreman when the Steelers' run defense has been horrendous lately, and he's clearly the main guy, although he had the fewest snaps of but I think a lot of that, he didn't have 1 snap in the fourth. He didn't have 1 carry in the fourth quarter. McNichols had almost all of the work in the fourth quarter. I don't know what the snap share was going into the fourth quarter. It was a 20-0 win over Jacksonville. But I don't know. I mean, he's got an easier matchup than the Broncos guys. I
don't know if it's easier, but I don't know if it's so much easier because I think the Logan Wilson injury will show up a little bit more this week.
All right, maybe. But yeah, okay. So tell me why. I guess obviously I'm skeptical, but make me a believer in the Broncos over Deontay Foreman.
Well, I think the Broncos have done nothing that at least should warrant your concern based on how this offense has been operating. And you mentioned, Adam, that they typically, the carries are a little bit lower in games that they're losing.
A lot lower.
Yeah, but I don't think this is one of those scenarios because the Denver's defense should be able to contain the Bengals offense. The Bengals defense, I don't think is in great shape right now because of, certainly 1 key injury, but they're banged up across the board. I trust both those guys right now, and again, if it was a solo act, it's easy, but you just look at what this offense is doing and how they're operating. Foreman should be the lead guy of the Titans, but there's still the risk of if they're down, is he on the field more so than McNichols or Hilliard? And so we just haven't seen that when everybody's healthy, because last week was a huge advantage for them. So I like Foreman's setup. I mean, 4 straight running backs have been 20 or more PPR points against the Steelers defense. They've been bad.
Yeah. Okay. Foreman or Penny? Oh, sorry.
Foreman over Penny. The thing that really worries me, and maybe your explanation of the fourth quarter is the reason for it, but like his snap share just he's never played more than half the snaps for the Titans. So I know like Gordon and Javonte are in a timeshare. Foreman's 100% in a timeshare.
The way I look at it is he's probably not on the field in third down, right? So that's always going to hurt and I don't expect more than 1 or 2 catches. He may have 0. But I think he's going to get the majority of the carries. Right. So the snap count might not be that high, but when he's in the game, it's the Titans. They still want to run the ball, and the Steelers' run defense has just been a wreck.
But if you're looking at 16 carries for Foreman and 12 to 13 for Gordon and Williams, and they each get a couple targets more than he does, they're in the same range.
Okay. So Freiermuth, Jamie likes more than Heath. Freiermuth is top 10 for Jamie and Dave and 14th for Heath. I understand he's got 3 or 4 targets in 3 straight games, but he always catches touchdowns. This is not an easy matchup. They've been very good against tight ends.
Yeah, it's just like this is the kind of guy that I'm just always going to be the low guy on, and you can just ignore me if you want to start him. That's what I would tell people.
Pitts against the Niners or Freiermuth?
I'd go Pitts.
Jamie?
I go Pitts and PPR. I go Freiermuth, none.
Dawson Knox or Freiermuth?
Knox easy.
Yeah, Knox easy.
Now that DeAndre Hopkins is out, Zach Ertz or Freiermuth?
Ertz and PPR, Freiermuth and none.
I'd go Ertz.
Anything else here? Jeff Swain?
Ferkser saw a big target share last week, but I don't think that means anything.
I think Swain was wide open in the end zone and Tannehill missed him. And we're sitting Tannehill, right?
Yes.
Let me do some quick Roethlisberger ors. Roethlisberger or Taysom Hill?
Hill.
Roethlisberger or Russell Wilson?
Wilson.
Russ.
Garoppolo?
Ben.
I'll go Jimmy.
And the Titans DST is a low-end starter this week. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, Cincinnati at Denver. Have we spoken about the Broncos running backs yet? We'll do that a little bit right after this. Bengals at Broncos. All right. Start it off, Heath. Give me your thoughts on this game.
I'm still a little bit surprised that Denver's favored by 2.5. I think they opened at 1, and that has moved in their direction. So Vegas certainly thinks the Broncos are going to win the game. I think this is not that much different than the Titans-Steelers game. It's probably a 1-possession game. It's probably in the low 40s as far as a total. You start Mixon, you start the Chase and Higgins, and you probably start the Broncos running backs.
That's what makes this tough for me, because the Broncos have been very game script dependent, as I keep mentioning, but they've only played 3 close games, 3 games decided by 8 or fewer points. And in those games, the running backs didn't have a lot of work, but that doesn't mean that wouldn't happen here. So, that you want a competitive game. When they fall behind big, they lose big. It's bad for the running backs, but
it's probably
bad. Really have any reason to expect that?
I guess I just really like the Bengals and I don't like the Broncos. So I have to get that out of my head and stop influencing that. So
they have the same record and it's in Denver, right?
Yes. I just don't, but I just look at who the Broncos have beaten. The first 3 games of the year, it was the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Giants. I think Bridgewater stinks. I mean, their passing offense is completely broken.
Let's look at recently, though. They've beaten the Cowboys and the Chargers.
Yeah. The Cowboys game was really impressive, no question. And their defense has held up against the Cowboys and the Chargers, yes. But I don't know. I mean, just like the way they played against the Chiefs, gosh, they just were so outclassed. But fine. I'll just go with with what everybody thinks.
I think we fall for the narrative of who's got the better quarterback all the time. And obviously Burrow's a better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are in their situations better receivers than the Broncos guys because of the quarterback. But if you just look at the defense right now, the Broncos defense has been fantastic, and I don't think it gets enough credit for the way that they played, because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought when they got rid of Von Miller, this was okay, we're packing it in, we're done. And they played better since they got rid of Von Miller. Not an indication of him by any stretch, but their defense is playing great. We knew the secondary had a chance to be good coming in. They for the most part held up. And, Bradley Chubb in and out of the lineup has mattered for this team as well, from a pass rush standpoint. But this is a really good unit, and Burrow has been struggling. He I think, reminded us of his greatness last week in the comeback effort against San Francisco. But keep in mind, San Francisco's secondary was completely depleted, and they were banged up throughout the game as well. So this is a little bit of a concern. Chase, to me, is still in the same boat that I was going into last week, where you're starting him, but I don't think everything is all of a sudden fixed with the struggles that he had prior to that. Higgins is still, I think, the safer of the two, but he's banged up, and so I think Denver wins this game. So I think the running backs from a Broncos standpoint will stay in it. And I don't think if they lose the game, it's because they're getting blown out.
Okay, so when you set it up like that, you have both Chase and Higgins, both of you in your top 18, I believe.
Yep.
If that hits, Burrow is probably going to have a good game like he did last week with 25 fantasy points.
Well, I mean, it could be one touchdown for one of the guys and 100 yards for the other. And, Chase had 2 touchdowns, was under 100 yards last week. So Burrow also has been turnover prone.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at his last 5 games, 4 of them have been bad, but it's really coincided with Jamar Chase not putting up numbers. When Chase finally did put up numbers,
I think the difference is you can't, you're going into the fantasy playoffs. It's like the old Tyler Lockett thing, and it's really still the Tyler Lockett thing. He's just been good 5 weeks in a row. You can't sit Jamar Chase with the kind of upside that he has in the fantasy playoffs.
But you will sit Joe Burrow for a lot of quarterbacks, right?
Right. Joe Burrow has not had the same type of success that Chase has.
I kind of think he has
relative to other quarterbacks. He's
how many times
18 in the season.
How many times this season have both guys had huge games?
But that's what I'm saying. If you look at compare their game logs, it's pretty similar, I think, right? And Burrow had been really good, throwing 2 touchdowns or more every single game until he and Jamar Chase both kind of started struggling at the same time.
Well, it was also the run game got going too. That was the start of it. Joe Mixon.
The run game yeah. And you know what? I mean, if you think Denver's going to win, he's got 30 to 40 pass attempts in all 6 losses.
Yeah, I don't think this is
in 3 of 6 losses.
I don't think this is a 30-17 Denver victory. I think this is like a 24-17 Denver victory, a 24-20 Denver victory, and Mixon scores. Burrow gets 1. One of the guys has a big game receiving. I mean, Higgins is a better PPR guy than he is a non-PPR guy, just because the touchdowns have not been there for him consistently. Chase is better in non-PPR than PPR because of the touchdown potential. But I think this is more on FOMO. You're not benching these 2 guys with the potential of what they can give you. It's the same thing with DK Metcalf. It's like that's why I'm hesitant to say sit DK Metcalf, because he can go off anytime. It's been 5 straight games where he hasn't done anything. Mm-hmm. But and like you said about Tyler Lockett, it's those type of guys where they can win you your week, but they've been losing your week a lot lately.
And I misspoke. Joe Burrow is still QB 12 relative to where Chase is at wide receiver. That's not the same thing. But I think you've talked a lot about game script in this game. And I just don't think we have any reason to, there are certain games we can speculate on what the game script is and adjust expected run. And this is not one of those games, and neither is Tennessee-Pittsburgh. We don't know.
I agree.
Nobody knows.
That's why I started with these 2 games. They're a little bit difficult in that respect. And it's pretty amazing. Only 8 wide receivers this year have had more than 7 targets against Denver. So it's pretty strange. So I mean, maybe you have to start those 2 guys, Higgins and Chase, but from a DFS standpoint, maybe this is one you avoid. CJ Uzama is 15th or 16th for Heath. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement, but he has 6 targets in 2 straight games. On the other side okay, all right. So look, we'll just set it up. You guys don't love Burrow this week. You're starting the 2 wide receivers. Mixon is a must start. You've already told me you're starting not with look, when it's a committee, it's never like an amazing start for Williams and Gordon unless they're playing the Lions, but they're not bad. So I'll compare them with a few players in a second. But Jerry Jeudy, we're sitting Bridgewater. Starter sit Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I think he's a boom bust number 3 wide receiver.
Where's the boom been?
Yeah, it has. We haven't seen it yet, but I still I think he's in the Gabriel Davis, Michael Gallup, Devontae Parker range.
Okay. And
those guys, maybe not. I like Davis and Parker significantly better than Jerry Jeudy.
Noah Fant, start or sit?
No, thank you.
I love it. I knew it.
No, I can't.
Yes, you guys are great. Dave would say something different because Dave's got him in the top 12, just barely.
He gave me his show notes for FFT today. He has him as a sit, so I don't understand.
All right. Well, there aren't that many good tight ends, I guess. All right. So then
it's a great matchup, though.
Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams? Who do you prefer?
Javonte. I think the only concern I have with Melvin Gordon, and it's a slight one, is if they are trailing and this thumb issue is a problem, how much will he be in passing down situations? Javonte, I think, is already ahead of him in that regard to begin with. And so if he's not catching passes like we saw last week, he ran the ball really well, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was Detroit. So if they are chasing and they need a pass catcher, is he completely off the field?
Yeah, because that was last week, I think, was the first week where there was a pretty, I don't know, I mean, it could change in 1 week. There was a pretty clear delineation in terms of their usage. Williams was the passing downs guy last week, and that would be a major problem for Gordon.
Would you start Van Jefferson or a Broncos running back?
Broncos running back.
I think I'd go Van over Melvin.
Okay. How about Brandon Ayuk or a Broncos running back?
Broncos running back.
Broncos. I've got Van over Ayuk, so yeah, Broncos running backs.
Okay. How about Jamar Chase or a Broncos running back?
Oh boy. Chase.
Javonte, Chase, Melvin.
Javonte, Chase, Melvin. That would be fun to watch. I think Javonte would track him down. And that's it for this game. Finish with this game. Green Bay at Baltimore. Green Bay defense has been rough lately. They gave up 34 points to Minnesota, 28 to the Rams, 23 to Chicago. Technically 30 scored, but 7 of them were on special teams, 6 of them. So, well, 7 of them. So that's interesting. And
well, it's less than 20 if you're taking away all the special teams points.
All the extra points. Yeah.
You're going to really, you can't say it's all special teams.
Yeah, it's a good point. Could you imagine if I did that with every game? Well, if you take away the extra points.
Their defense only gave up 12.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I think Green Bay is, Rodgers is a must start.
Ultimate Azer stats.
Yeah. Rodgers is a must start. Adams is a must start. Would you start Lazard or MVS? Any interest?
I kind of like Lazard a little bit better. MVS is definitely in play because of the big play potential that he has against his defense. So they're both in a very similar range. I have it ranked MVS over Lazard in non-PPR, Lazard over MVS in PPR. I do like Lazard without Cobb there. I think that's a good scenario for him to see some more opportunities in the slot. And Aaron Rodgers likes, I think, using him as a big slot receiver. The other part of this is MVS was on the injury report on Wednesday. So if for whatever reason he's out, then Lazard is in a very, very good situation.
Yeah, and the big plays you talked about doesn't have to be just the big play guys, but they give up the most big pass plays in the NFL. Most 20-plus yard plays, most 40-plus yard plays. I think I give that stat every single week.
I think you should start Devontae Adams.
Yeah, start Devontae Adams. Now, Heath, you said Devontae Freeman is your favorite.
I think, by the way, Devontae Adams was listening to the broadcast on Monday because they were talking about how great Johnson was playing against him and how little production he had done. And then all of a sudden, just like that. It was just like, he was like, oh, by the way, hey, I'm the best receiver in football still. I know that Cooper Kupp guy's pretty good and that Jefferson guy's pretty good, but 7 teams over here.
He schooled Johnson on that last touchdown, that little slant right in the end zone. Johnson knew where he was going. He had the inside leverage. He was almost sideways, and he burned him so badly. It was tough to watch. All right. Want to talk more about the running backs? Or, Heath,
yes.
You like Freeman the best of this group?
I do. I like the fact that he's averaged, 17 and a half, 18 touches over his last 6 games. I like the fact that he has at least 5 catches in 3 of his last 4 games. I like the workload and the touchdown potential.
And Jamie, he's last for you, right? He's behind these guys.
I'd probably put him ahead of when I adjust my rankings. I'll do it. I'll put Dillon behind him in PPR, but in non-PPR, I'll take him over Freeman. This Packers defense has been really good against the run in terms of touchdowns allowed, and Freeman has not been great when he's not scoring touchdowns. So he's going to have to really step up his production with either a backup quarterback or an injured quarterback against still a very good defense. And so he's not a must-sit guy by any stretch, but I just don't love the setup for Devontae Freeman this week. He's more of a bust alert for me.
You guys are very far apart on Aaron Jones in full PPR. Jamie's got him, I think, 15th right now. Heath, somewhere around 24. Yes, 24. That's exactly right. So, Heath, you're saying to consider sitting Aaron Jones?
I just don't know if he's fully healthy yet. I was shocked that last week they gave him 5 carries. And it was awesome that he scored 2 touchdowns, but and I didn't realize this until you said it, Adam. AJ Dillon played a lot more or touched the ball a lot more and played more in the red zone than Jones did. So I don't know that you can count on the touchdowns. I don't know that you can count like he's got 18 touches in his last 2 games combined. And I thought that week 12 against the Rams was just, it was his first game back. Don't worry about him only getting 10 touches. And then he got 8 the next week against Chicago.
Just to say it for the third time this week, basically what we noticed in this game was goal-to-go situations or inside the 5-yard line. It looks like Dillon was the guy on first and second down, and Jones was the guy on third down. Now, you might say, well, I'm pretty sure Jones scored on first and goal. It was first drive after halftime. A.J. Dillon gets 5 carries, does all the work. He's kicking ass. He comes out of the game. Aaron Jones comes in. I believe it was first and goal, gets the carry and scores. But earlier in the game, they got inside the 5-yard line. Dillon got the carry on first down. He was on second down. Jones was in on third, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of the way I break it down. But that, I mean, Dillon had 15 carries and Jones had 5. But like we said yesterday, we don't know that that's going to happen again this week. So can you make the case, I guess, to start Aaron Jones?
Well, it's the passing down work. I think you'll see him certainly much more involved. And as we know, for the billionth year in a row, he's going to be their second leading receiver. So he's obviously got that scenario locked down. Dillon did not have a target last week. So, if he can't run against this great run defense, and the Ravens' run defense has been great, Dillon's going to have to score. And so if he doesn't score, you're probably looking at an empty stat line like we saw last week, 15 for 71. Not going to help a lot of people. Jones has proven in limited touches and heavy workloads, he finds a way to get in the end zone. And I think he'll be probably in the 4 to 6 catch range. So I hope his carries go up a little bit. To Heath's point, he was on the injury report again on Wednesday, so he's probably not at 100%. Still managing through this knee injury situation. So Dillon will probably get more carries again. And certainly if the game is in the Packers' advantage, he will definitely get a lot of carries late in the game. But I still like Jones better PPR by far.
We haven't talked about Lamar Jackson. We should probably do that. Go ahead, Heath. Give me your thoughts on the Ravens quarterback situation, because we don't even know if Lamar Jackson's going to play.
Right. I'm like right now we're projecting Lamar Jackson's going to play. This is the lowest I think that I have ranked Lamar Jackson since he became a starting quarterback, and I've got him 10th. I actually had him 12th earlier in the week, but I have downgraded Jalen Hurts for the time being. If Jalen Hurts gets a full practice in, I would start him over Lamar Jackson. But if they're both limited, I would take Lamar Jackson over Hurts. I've also downgraded Stafford, losing Beckham, and not just Beckham, but that whole team being in the COVID situation. So I've got him 12th. But it's not a great situation. I would start Tua over him, but Tua is the only streamer I would start over him. I would also start Kirk Cousins over him, though.
You think you're low on Lamar Jackson. Jamie's got him 14th. So if Jackson is out...
He'd be lucky to finish 14th the last month.
Yeah. If Jackson's out and Tyler Huntley is in, Marquise Brown, starter sit. And yes, you start Mark Andrews. Has actually been great with Tyler Huntley. But what about Marquise Brown?
He's a number 3 receiver.
Either way or just with Huntley?
I think either way. I feel like I'm almost ranking Marquise Brown like I'm ranking Jamar Chase and like I'm ranking DK Metcalf just based on the potential. But this is not an easy matchup. I mean, this is a really good defense.
But you have Chase in your top 18, and where do you?
That's what I'm saying. It's not because necessarily I think they're going to have great games based on the matchup. I think it's because of what they're capable of doing, and that's what Marquise Brown is capable of doing.
But you have Brown so much lower than Chase, right?
What I'm saying is, I feel like I know why I'm ranking Brown because of what I hope he can do, not as opposed to what I definitely think he's going to do.
I'm sure, but if you were ranking him on based on what you hope he were doing, wouldn't that be much higher than in the 30s?
No, but it's also factoring in a gimpy Lamar Jackson and a backup quarterback in one of those two scenarios.
Okay. I don't know what you make of this, but the Packers in their last 3 games, they've given up 76 or more yards to 6 wide receivers. That would be both Vikings guys, 3 Rams guys, and Damiere Byrd. And then you had the 46-yard touchdown for Jakeem Grant. I mean, their defense has kind of fallen apart the last 3 weeks. They used to really not give up big plays. Now that's all they're doing. And unfortunately for Brown, you can't make big plays basically if you're not going down the field, and he hasn't been doing that much. But this matchup looks a lot better from the last 3 weeks. Does that matter to you?
If we could get a positive report on Lamar, it would matter quite a bit to me.
But positive in regards to what? Positive in full practice, there's no ankle issue, or just limited and he's going to play? I don't think we're getting full practice. He's 100%.
I don't think we're getting a full practice. I'd like a little bit more than limited. He's going to play. Just something like I'm feeling better. He's just something. Give me a little something. I don't need much. Just because I do think the big play potential is pretty good. I don't think the big play potential is there at all if Huntley is the quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. And Bateman, we're going to sit after the 100-yard game.
Bateman gets better if it's Huntley. It seems like they have a connection. They
don't though. I mean, his first game was really bad with Huntley, wasn't it? And that was without Marquise Brown.
It was bad, but I think the thing you look at sometimes when these backup quarterbacks come in is second team players versus scenarios. And not that Bateman's a second team player, but he's not Marquise Brown. So how much in the preseason do those guys work together? How much practice time do those guys spend together?
I don't know. 3 catches for 29 yards on 6 targets at the Bears without.
But nobody
Marquise
did well
Brown.
in that game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, right. I don't know why.
It's also Huntley getting more experience.
So are you telling me you would rank Bateman ahead of Marquise Brown?
No. But Bateman's not
just higher than he is currently.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bateman gets a boost to borderline number 3 receiver as opposed to number 4 receiver.
Okay, and Baltimore's DST or Green Bay's DST rather is looks like 9th for Jamie, 7th for Heath, 2nd for Dave. Definitely in play this week, especially if Huntley plays. And by the way, you guys are way too low on Aaron Rodgers. You should have him number 1. Just going to throw that out there like Dave does. Good for Dave. Jets at Dolphins. Okay, we got through with the fun games. Here we go to finish the show. Jets at Dolphins.
Where did you talk about this game?
Who's a start this game? Waddle.
Tua, Parker.
So let me talk about the passing game with you here. Tell me how much faith you have in these guys. Because obviously the Jets do not have a good pass defense. However, they don't see a lot of pass attempts. And there's only been, let me get the stat here. Only been 1 game so far where multiple wide receivers have scored 14 or more PPR fantasy points. There have been 3 other games, so 4 total. If you want to drop that down to 13 or more PPR fantasy points, then you've got something. You got 4 games. That's not a great game, 13 or more PPR fantasy points. So you really confidently starting? Well, probably not. Are you confidently starting Devontae Parker?
Yes.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say confidently, but he's a borderline number 3 for me.
All right, we've talked about Marquise Brown, Michael Pittman. Is Parker ahead of them?
Yes.
I'm starting those guys over Devontae Parker.
Parker's been really sneaky good this year. It's hard to know because you got to look at the matchups and what he's done considering the opponents. So I can understand the enthusiasm that Jamie has.
He's been about 50-50 to get more than 10 points, right?
He's been about 50-50 to get more than 10 points. That's
More
probably
than 11. I'm sorry, at 5 for 60 last week. He's got 5 for 40, 4 for 40, 5 for 60, and then he's got 4 for 80, 8 for 80, 4 for 70.
Yeah, but then that's what I'm talking about. You have to look. He's played Buffalo twice. He's played New England once. Las Vegas actually pretty good against wide receivers. And last time he played, he didn't really play a full snap share. He had 5 for 62 on 5 targets against the Giants. So the Jets actually give up the 8th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. And
it's so misleading.
It is, but that's the thing is teams run all over them. I'm assuming you think that no matter what, the Dolphins are not going to do that.
No.
Right. But in the first meeting, it was kind of a disappointment for Tua. It was 20 points, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and he threw 30.
1 of 2 in the last 9 games to be under 22 points.
And Gaskin had 23 carries in that game for a robust 89 yards. Okay. So I just think you guys are starting Tua over some pretty big names, right? Jackson.
Yeah. So how do you think Tua is getting there? Parker's not having a more robust game.
I think Waddle and Gesicki are both must starts. And I would guess that the running backs, if it's Duke Johnson or Myles Gaskin, are probably going to catch 5+ passes.
Also feels like, even though there's a week with no buys, it feels like the back end of the top 12 at quarterback is a little shaky for you guys. Like,
that's the thing. It's like the guys we're starting him over is Stafford with half a team around him for me. Hurts and Jackson, who are not healthy. Like, it's not like I wouldn't be starting him over Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts if I thought those guys were 100%.
Would you guys start Devontae Parker or a running back in this game?
Parker.
Gaskin if he plays.
Oh, that's fair. Gaskin if he plays.
If Gaskin and Malcolm Brown play?
I'm not really.
I'm not worried about Malcolm Brown.
No.
Okay. Well, he was a big deal for Gaskin's fantasy value before his injury.
Sure.
A huge deal. But okay, we'll see what the roles are. Michael Carter. I mean, Michael Carter was playing really well before his injury. In fact, he's one of the only running backs who's ran well against the Dolphins recently. And he did have a 39-yard carry. Was not much other than that. But just gonna want to wait and see here with Carter.
Yeah, I mean, next week he gets Jacksonville, so that's a good scenario. It's almost like just get through the game, don't get hurt, and then next week I feel a lot more comfortable with him. But obviously a lot of his production, as we've noted time and time again, has come with different quarterbacks because Zach Wilson will not throw to his backs as much as Mike White did and Josh Johnson did. So mostly Mike White, I think, or Joe Flacco too. I think you look at, Wilson's done a little bit better lately, but you also have Tevin Coleman clearing the concussion protocol, so he's probably going to get some touches. Ty Johnson will get some touches. So Michael Carter, I think, is a flex. Definitely should be rostered if he was dropped, but I wouldn't love starting him this week if you can avoid it.
I've pretty much taken the cautious approach with anybody coming back from these extended absences, and that's the reason I was asking about the Carter IR trip and whether maybe he's actually 100% was because I would like to just rank Carter as what he was, but I'll probably just do what Jamie said and wait a week.
6 straight games against the Dolphins where no running back has more than 11 carries. No running back has scored more than 6 non-PPR fantasy points or 13.6 PPR fantasy points. This has not been an easy matchup at all.
Right, and you mentioned Gaskin. Like, that's the one in that group. He had 65 yards and 33% of the team snaps. He got hurt in that game.
Who?
Carter.
Michael Carter.
Carter. Yeah, he got hurt in that game. He had a big run. Okay, there was one other thing that I wanted to look at here. I'll come back to it. Okay, any interest in Crowder or anything like that? Are we done with this game?
Done.
I'm done with this game.
Finished with this game. Start the Dolphins DST. And Gesicki or Freiermuth?
Gesicki.
Gesicki PPR, Freiermuth non-PPR.
Gesicki or Knox?
No.
Knox.
New England is at Indianapolis on Saturday. Contradictory stats of the game. The Colts have allowed 13 or more PPR fantasy points to a wide receiver in all but 3 games. 17 or more PPR fantasy points to a wide receiver in all but 4 games. However, it's really been very recent that they've been much better. In week 9, they got destroyed by Elijah Moore. Since then, no wide receiver has more than 38 yards. And that includes Diggs, Cooks, and the Buccaneers wide receivers and the Jaguars wide receivers. So what do you think? I mean, this usually is a really terrible secondary that you can be very good as a wide receiver. Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Keith, any interest in these guys?
Not really.
Okay. Tell me how we're looking at the Patriots running backs against a good run defense.
Looking at Damian Harris, tell him to take the week off.
Yep.
Harris would be better than Stevenson if he plays, but they're both back-end RB2 flex options at best.
But if there's no Harris, Stevenson's a great number 2 in non-PPR, in my opinion, and a decent one in full PPR.
Yeah, he would be a number 1 running back for me in non-PPR.
Who's a start in this game?
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm facing him in at least 2 leagues. Do you think he has a bad week by any chance?
He could.
Who do you think wins this game?
The Patriots.
Colts are 2-point favorites, I believe.
At home.
At home. I think I'd go with the Colts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Carson Wentz throws 26.2 passes in wins, 39.3 passes per game in losses. That is an unbelievable gap. And this,
how many did Mac Jones throw?
I don't know. But this game, if they lose, it's still a game where I think they're just going to run. I mean, that's kind of the weakness of the Patriots defense.
Oh, believe me, this as a former, guy who covered games, you love this type of game because it's probably over in 3 hours. It's a quick one.
I've been feeling that way about the Sunday night or Monday night games recently. They seem like they're flying by, and then all of a sudden, TV has a way of making it not fly by. But okay, so is there anything else you want to talk about in this game? I mean, we should probably go a little bit more.
Nick Folk,
Michael Pittman, Nick Folk, yeah,
your favorite player.
Well, you gotta respect Nick Folk. Okay, Pittman or Patriots running back if they both play.
Both over Pittman in non-PPR. Pittman over both in PPR.
I'd say Harris over Pittman in non-PPR. Pittman over both in full PPR.
How about Pittman or Penny?
I'll take my chances with Penny.
I'd go Pittman in PPR, Penny in non. I just wonder. You said that that was kind of the weakness of the Patriots defense was their run defense, and I kind of assume that's by design. That most teams they would just rather run on them than throw on them. They take away whatever you do best. I wonder if they just clamp down on the run and see if Carson Wentz can beat them.
If that's the case, you're probably looking at a pick 6 for the Patriots, and J.C. Jackson can handle Pittman by himself.
Yeah, the Patriots, only 4 running backs have scored. Yeah, I call it a weakness. They're not great per carry. They give up the 4th most receiving yards per game, the running backs, although last 3 weeks they've been much better there. But they just don't give up rushing touchdowns. Now, there was a point in time where the Steelers hadn't given up a rushing touchdown all year. It was through 6 or 7 games, I think. And now they give up a rushing touchdown basically every week. So that's it's a tough stat. But we know historically you can move the ball on the Patriots until you get near the end zone, and then you can't move the ball anymore. They do not give up rushing touchdowns. They do not give up receiving touchdowns to running backs. Only 4 running backs all year have scored against them. And we'll see what Jonathan Taylor has in store.
I'm very happy. I have Taylor in 3 leagues, and I'm on a buy in all 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, that is good. That is nice. I wonder if there's a correlation there, having Taylor and being on a buy. Okay, so
wait, did all 3? All 3, I got him in the second round.
Wow, it's awesome.
2 analyst leagues.
I said something earlier that I wanted to look up. The Dolphins have 3 players. This is totally off topic, but back to the Dolphins game. They have 3 players that are ranked interior linemen, ranking all interior linemen against the run. They have 2 players in the top 7, Zach Seiler and Christian Wilkins. Wilkins, by the way, very good IDP player. Pick him up if you need a defensive lineman. And then they have John Jenkins, who is 13th. He's only played 6 games, so I don't know if he's healthy. But they have 3 defensive tackles, interior defensive linemen, who are in the top 13 rated against the run, and 2 of them are top 7. So that's why the Dolphins have been so great. Anyway, that's a completely different game. Any interesting?
Been better than the Dolphins on fantasy points allowed the last 5 weeks
against the run.
Yes, run against fantasy points allowed to running backs.
I should know this.
I bet Heath gets it.
Kind of my thing.
Chiefs.
No.
You said I bet Heath gets it, so that's why I guessed that.
Who?
Well, that's why Heath doesn't like a certain player this week.
Oh, Rams?
Ravens.
No. Ravens, sure. All right, Jack Doyle, Hunter Henry.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I did move Henry ahead of Doyle. I had Henry too low, but neither of them are my top 15.
You know the story with Henry. If he scores, he's good. Or he's decent.
Patriots DST.
Still startable. I mean, you're banking on Carson Wentz melting if you're starting him, and he can melt.
I have no idea how many games I have left here. 2 or 3. All right, let's go to Cleveland and Las Vegas.
Hey, we're almost at 2 hours.
Yeah, we got to go here. Cleveland and Las Vegas. Stat of the game. Well, Vegas so bad against tight ends. I give this stat almost every week. 76 yards or a touchdown. 70 yards or a touchdown in 9 of their last 11 games. Tight end against Las Vegas.
If only one Browns tight end plays, he's probably a top 8 tight end. If 2 Browns tight ends play, then the Njoku is probably like a borderline top 12 guy.
Yeah, I would say you don't want Njoku and Hooper playing. I'd be fine with either one of those guys with Bryant, because Bryant, I don't think will see as many target opportunities as either Njoku or Hooper.
You feel that way about Keenum, even if it's Keenum?
Yes.
Everything's expecting Keenum to start.
Does Carr have any sleeper appeal to you with the secondary absences, presumably?
No, what's the weather?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just getting ready to look up to give the exact weather forecast. But I think it's going to be a classic Cleveland bad weather game. And the fact that Cleveland doesn't have any players makes me think that the Raiders are just going to run more.
But they're missing players in their secondary more so.
I meant offensive players.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you know how it has the little windy thing? It's 43 degrees first. So you don't play Derek Carr when it's 43 degrees outside. But also it's going to feel much worse. Wind looks like it's around 20 miles an hour for the day. And it's either going to be snowing or raining, depending on whether that game finishes before or after the temperature drops below 32.
This is a Nick Chubb game written all over it. Total dominant game for him.
So Chubb and Jacobs are going to be must starts here. Is Hunter Renfrow still a must start under these circumstances?
Oh boy, you have to.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, they don't have to throw it very far to get it to Hunter Renfrow.
Exactly. And then anyone else in this game? Who's the best? Who's these? Yeah, no, it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
Unless Landry gets cleared.
And then, all right, if Landry plays, start or sit?
Start.
If Landry plays, I'll probably have him as a low end number 3.
And you're going to start Waller if he plays, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. This game's over. Cleveland DST is top 10. Browns DST or Patriots DST?
Patriots.
Yeah, and I think the Raiders DST is a sneaky play too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Carolina at Buffalo. I guess we have 2 games left. This one and the Houston game. Dawson Knox has 7 red zone targets in his last 4 games. This is your stat of the game. Only Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, and Justin Jefferson have more in that time span. But what's funny is that Gabriel Davis also has 7 red zone targets in those 4 games. So both of them getting a lot of looks where it counts, Dawson Knox and Gabriel Davis. Who other than DJ Moore are you considering for Carolina?
Nope.
No one.
Yeah, you got to sit the running backs, right?
Yep.
And where's Moore in your rankings?
Feels too high, but late teens, early 20s.
I think I'd actually dropped him down 24.
Yeah.
But with the assuming he comes out of practice okay, I'll probably move him up a little bit. I try on these Thursday games when you've got a guy that's within 5 spots in the rankings to move the questionable guys behind the guy who's playing on Thursday night. Because I think as of yesterday, at least, you should have started Mike Williams over DJ Moore. But if Moore comes out of today's practice okay, I'll probably move him back ahead of Williams.
Okay. Also, keep in mind that you probably don't care, but the Bills' run defense has been struggling a bit lately, and a lot of it has coincided with Star Latulila's absence. He's missed 4 games now.
But look who they struggled against, though.
Yes. Well, yeah, it was mostly Jonathan Taylor and Leonard Fournette.
And the Patriots.
And one big run by Damian Harris.
I'm saying the team total, they a lot of attempts. But it's not like they've been struggling against teams like this.
Sure.
Is Star back? Yeah, he was back.
No. He played against the Patriots, and then he missed last week's game.
Because this would be a revenge game for him, right?
This would? Yes, this would be a revenge game for him, yes. We don't usually focus on defensive tackle revenge games. On the Bills side of the ball, do you have total confidence in Josh Allen?
Total. Number 1 quarterback this week.
Well, he's got the foot injury.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Not even wearing a walking boot.
All right. Should be Rodgers. Can we make a bet, Rodgers versus Allen?
No, they're both going to be great.
Let's make a bet.
Both top 3.
Yeah.
No, because you're giving me a guy that less than 100%.
Then don't make it number 1.
Give me some odds.
Hey, you know Aaron Rodgers is definitely less than 100%.
That's true. That's fair.
All right. Yes, gentleman's bet.
We both live. These are cold weather quarterbacks. We both live relatively close to the ocean, right? Loser has to go jump in the ocean.
I live close to the ocean.
I mean, can't be too far from the ocean.
I'm pretty far. I'm close to the Hudson River.
Okay, yeah, you can jump in the Hudson River.
Okay, I'll do that. It's a great idea. Would you start
You can stand there.
Devin Singletary? That was Kramer, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, yeah, Kramer.
Would you start Devin Singletary?
I would like not to, but not a bad flex.
The thing that's so hard because it's gone back and forth, 4 weeks in a row now? Is Zach Moss going to be active? If Moss is not active, then I think Singletary is a borderline number 2. If Moss is active, then Singletary is a low-end flex.
Okay. So if Moss is inactive, would you start Singletary over Michael Carter?
I would.
Would you?
Sorry, maybe.
Would you start Singletary if Moss is inactive over AJ Dillon?
No.
In PPR, I would.
Okay. Buffalo wide receivers. This is fairly interesting here. We're obviously going to start Stephon Diggs. Who's your second favorite Buffalo wide receiver?
I think you still got to go Beasley in PPR, but Davis is fun. I mean, season high targets last week. Sanders goes down. There's an opportunity here to make some plays down the field, especially if Gilmore is going to be making things tough on Diggs.
Did have 51 pass attempts for Josh Allen, 54 pass attempts for Josh Allen last week. Every time Allen throws 40 or more times, Cole Beasley has 8 or more catches. Doesn't really feel like this is going to be that game, though. So, all right.
But there's somebody missing, though. So.
What, guys? Davis over Beasley, you said, Heath?
I think I would, yeah. Both.
All right. Would you start Beasley or Pittman? Or Davis or Pittman?
Davis for me.
Pittman.
Start Dawson Knox, start the Bills DST. And Houston at Jacksonville. Stat of the game number 1 was about Brandin Cooks and with Davis Mills. Stat of the game number 2, the Texans have allowed 100 yards or a touchdown to a wide receiver in all but 3 games.
Marvin, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Marvin.
Not Treadwell?
No. Could be, but no.
Okay. All right. So we love James Robinson. Marvin Jones or Gabriel Davis or Cole Beasley?
Jones now.
Yep.
We had a nice discussion about Brandin Cooks earlier. Jamie's high on him, top 20. I convinced Heath to move Brandin Cooks maybe to about 30.
25? No, I had him 30. I said 25.
Oh, 25. Okay. That's great. And that's it, right? I mean, do you have any interest in Davis Mills? He's actually been pretty solid lately.
2 QB in Superflex leagues.
And he's been solid against the Rams and the Seahawks.
19 and 24 fantasy points in 2 starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not that far from the beach.
How far am I from the beach?
Like 30 minutes?
I don't think so. You say that, but the traffic is dreadful. Oh,
I'm looking at Google Maps.
If I went right now to the beach when it's cold, maybe I could get there in 30. I doubt it though. I don't see that happening. So David Johnson, can we talk about the Texans running backs here? Because in the last 3 games, the running backs have combined for 31 carries at Tennessee, 22 carries against the Jets, and 22 carries against Seattle. So they have run the ball a decent amount.
We've done that all year.
Okay.
They're terrible.
All right. So we'll why did I spend $5 on David Johnson in the podcast league? I think I have to start him. My goodness.
I mean, if you take what Royce Freeman did last week, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but anytime a guy catches a lot of passes against Seattle, it was Seattle, basically.
No, he's a fun, that's a 14-team league. And so I think he's a fine.
You know what it is for me? It's going to be David Johnson versus Traquan Smith in a PPR league.
David Johnson's week.
And you're in the playoffs.
Not for long. McCaffrey and AJ Brown, I might have a better shot, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember when you gave yourself the number 1 pick and then had to pay
right.
for it.
Yeah, man.
Of course, the karma. I did not give myself the number 1 pick.
Yes, you did.
Would you start a DST in this game?
I'd prefer not to, but they're, desperation streamers. Jacksonville over the Texans now.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we're out of here, guys. Thank you very much. Good show. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you today at 2 p.m. Eastern time right here, youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday to answer all of your start sit questions for Jamie and Heath.